Yes, we can start. Prajakta madam.
Namaste everyone. I am Prajakta Bharadwaj, the student of Swasti Yoga Center. Let's start today's session with Omkar chanting and Patanjali prayer. Roll your shoulders behind, sit tall and strong. Keep your hands on your thighs, palms facing upward, and keep your eyes closed for Omkar chanting. Take one deep inhale and exhale. Inhale again. Deep inhalation, slow exhalation. Join your hands at the center of your chest for Patanjali prayer. Yogena chittasya padena vacha malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravaram munina Patanjalim pranjalim pranatosmi Abahu purushakaram shankhachakrasidharinam Sahasrashirasam shvetam pranamami Patanjalim. Take one deep inhale and exhale. Rub your hands on each other. Make them warm enough and keep them on your eyes first. Give all warmth to your eyes slowly and steadily. Open your eyes in your palms. See the light through the darkness. So slowly and steadily, spread your fingers and join your hands again, center of your chest. Thank you so much. I welcome you all to the Global Yoga Festival, initiative taken by Dr. Vikas Sothe and Dr. Shvetambari Sothe. We, the Swasti Yoga Center family, are celebrating the Global Yoga Festival to celebrate 75th year of India's independence through the Global Yoga Festival, where 75 global yoga and spiritual leaders give their speeches and share their views on various topics. Swasti Yoga Center is also providing a platform to young people. Swasti Yoga Center is also providing a platform to young people and tomorrow's leaders to come forward and speak up their thoughts. This program is taking place on every Saturday and Sunday 6 p.m. IST. Today I got the opportunity to welcome yoga leader, head of TCS Yoga Council, and a lifetime member of Yoga Association, Yoga Master and a business head of TCS Workforce Analytics, Mr. Aniket Vinayak Kolee. Welcome, Sarji. Welcome, Aniket ji. TCS is a major IT employer in Asia and as an expert of information technology, software development, IT project management, knowledge management, business analysis, and the Yoga Master. He will put light on global challenges and prospects and corporate yoga journey. He is on a mission towards holistic well-being and individual transformation for business excellence. I request Aniket ji to take over the session. Thank you.
Namaste, and thank you very much for making me part of this journey, part of these celebrations. We will not be using any presentation today. Okay, so I'll just see everyone here first. Okay, among many of these, I'm so grateful that to see all of you here, those who have been speakers in previous sessions, as well as part of this particular journey with Swasti Yoga so far. If anybody has certain expectations from what I'm going to convey today, feel free to voice your questions in the beginning or put your questions in the chat window so that whatever I convey is meeting your expectations. Okay. Now, when we talk about corporate yoga journey, Vikasji has intelligently set up the topic in such a way that it makes us think that yoga in corporates is a journey, or it is a journey of yoga related initiatives in the corporates. How do we look at it? Well, when we think about any organization, we are talking about some different functions of an organization, or whether the organization is meant for doing something, which is the purpose of the organization. There are few NGOs which are meant for taking some initiative to the public in order to do something for the larger benefit of this world. There are governments who have a specific function towards establishing the entire society in order. There are profit-making organizations who make some part of it, right? For example, somebody is manufacturing something. Somebody is manufacturing certain services. The way in which our body-mind complex is, the representation of that is also there in organizations, whether it is small or large. So understanding the body-mind complex of a group of people who are coming together for a purpose, and then figuring out what kind of journey it is. That's what is journey of an organization, isn't it? So Swasti Yoga is also an organization. They talk about well-being, they talk about peace, they talk about health. So every organization comes with a purpose. And what I personally believe is ultimate purpose of any organization is well-being of individuals or society. And that's exactly what we talk about in the yoga culture as well. When there are prayers which are not limited to ourselves, it is always about Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. In this way, it is always about larger good. So understanding the purpose is the first important aspect of any organization. Okay. Now in this, what is the journey all about? An organization is established. An organization runs in order to achieve its purpose. And if it is not able to achieve its purpose, it will cease to exist. If it is able to achieve its purpose, then it will continue to inspire even more organizations in future, isn't it? A yogi will start the journey in order to work on his or her health, or in order to attain the higher self, and by the virtue of that will inspire others to be on the path, to be part of the journey. And that inspiration will create some other yogis as well. In the same way, organizations also operate in the same manner. But whenever we are talking about an organization, in yogic texts, many yoga enthusiasts, they talk about being limited by the boundaries of our body. So if somebody is 6 feet tall, then they can do something what a 6 feet person can do. If somebody is short, then in that case, they will be able to do something which is limited to their body. People are happy or unhappy because of the limitations. Many people talk about body being a limitation, and it is important to transcend beyond the limits of the body in order to attain the higher self. Okay. How do we understand this perspective in case of organizations? See, there are 5.5 billion people as per International Labour Organization statistics in 2020, these people are in working age group. Working age group means 15 to 55 years of age group, out of which close to 3.5 billion people are employed. Some of these are still seeking employment, and some of them are outside employment. Okay. So when organization is being talked about, engaging the working group, working age group, and employing them is extremely important. And in order to do this Herculean task, the first thing, it is important to create a boundary. Create a boundary so that we can function within the boundary and then gradually expand our area of influence. In this way, in order to create a boundary, it cannot be haphazard. It has to have some discipline. And that discipline is nothing but Atha Yoga Anushasanam, isn't it? So, union with the larger self, the union with the larger purpose of the organization. And in order to do that, the first thing is establishing the discipline for the organization. For a nation, when we talk about it in the form of constitution, an organization will also start with vision, mission, values, as well as the code of conduct what that organization has. In my understanding, this is nothing but the Atha Yoga Anushasanam part. This is nothing but the discipline of yoga which an organization follows. Many yoga leaders say that every child is a born yogi. See, when we see a child, they smile for more than 400 times in a day. There is always a smile on their face. Okay, they are always curious, enthusiastic, trying to do something. In fact, when they are in the cradle, at that time we can see them performing different yogic postures. Well, we don't name them the way in which we name it for us, but we see them performing something, isn't it? And there are many doctors in this forum who would understand that the way in which they conduct themselves, they are able to take care of their own health and wellness in the childhood. It is only the influence of food, either the mother is eating some wrong kind of food, or if there is an environment because of which there is some pollution, that is resulting into their ill health. In the same way, when an organization is formed with a purpose, being good or doing good for the larger organization is something which is intrinsically built in the organization's ecosystem. We need to understand what are the external influencing factors which pollute an organization's purpose, which may come in the way of what an organization needs to perform. And that's where the discipline part is very important. When we see the discipline in context of the nation, there will be laws. When we see discipline in the context of a business, there will be regulations. In the same way, an organization established will follow its rules and regulations, its code of conduct, to make sure that the basic discipline of existence of an organization is followed and it is able to sustain itself for its purpose for the longer duration. And that is the beginning of the journey of an organization. And this journey is nothing but a yogic journey itself. As we talk about yoga as a darshan, this is the way in which we look at this entire universe. This is the way in which we look at this entire world. Why don't we see organizations also in the same perspective? Intrinsically, organizations are also yogi organizations only. The moment they realize that they will prosper. They will be able to transcend beyond the boundaries of what they have created and meet towards a larger purpose, isn't it? And for that, there are multiple activities which they need to do. For example, now that the organization is created, they have to hire people in order to do certain activities. They need to create their own internal structure of how they are going to operate. And one of the important aspects of what I work with respect to analytics is about the journey of people in the organization. And the journey of people in the organizations talks about something right from the time they are hired to the time they retire. And those organizations who look beyond this, for example, you would see how Tata Group operates. You would see how Microsoft would operate or Google would operate. They would see it from pre-hiring to post-separation. You would see them operating in schools. You would see them operating in slums in order to get people beyond their existing state of existence. And you would also see them working for the social cause, which is outside the boundary of that, right? That's how they are able to grow. So take any example of an organization which has grown beyond their boundaries. It starts with an individual, and it may look like an individual is looking for a job, organization is giving employment, but it concludes with prosperity of the society. It concludes with Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. That's what we want to achieve in this. In this entire journey, what are the typical challenges that we have to face? There are many Ayurveda doctors. People come to them with various ailments. Somebody tells them that I have acidity. I take some medicines. I have heard that Ayurveda is very good. You give me a medicine which will control acidity. Now the doctor who is an expert in Ayurveda would say, no, let's work towards the root cause. Let us figure out why acidity is happening to you. And then they would suggest that we will work with you in order to bring you in balance. So it is not just acidity, many other things will be taken care of as a result of that, isn't it? So when yoga related focus happens for an organization, at that time, many things come to an organization. For example, you would see that many countries are facing issue with their mental health of their citizens. And subset of that population is employee base for the organization, which means that mental health related issues exist in the organizations today. Organizations are vocal about it. There are psychosomatic disorders which are prevalent in the organizations today. Organizations may or may not be vocal about it because of the current structure of how the organizations operate. And we have to deal with the people right from the time they have certain ailments. They have certain disorders. And we know that these are majority of them are psychosomatic disorders, which means that they will have implications on the way in which an individual performs. So if you are expecting a recruitment manager to hire, let's say, 25,000 people in a year, he may not be able to meet his or her targets. If you are asking a manager to do, let's say, 100 one-to-one meetings in a year, I'm just putting a target of some number, then the person would say that I am too busy to carve out time for my people. If you ask the sales leader to meet certain target of sales, he would say that there are so many entry barriers in the market that I am not even able to penetrate a certain section of the business in order to achieve something. If you talk to a new CEO, he would say that it is overwhelming for me to understand this organization. My next level leader is not cooperating with me, isn't it? You go and talk to the next level leaders of a CEO. These peers are supposed to work in close coordination with each other, but in majority of the cases, you would find that they are conflicting with each other. They don't understand that one is a hand and another is a leg. Each one of them will have their own purpose. So making them aware of that fact is also very important. So these inconsistencies which exist in the organization result into what? These result into impact on business outcomes. And groups like Tata Group, Vikasji talks about it, he comes from the same fraternity. There is only one thing which is being talked about, which is about business excellence. When we talk about Chanakya, he also talks about business excellence. Okay. So if we want to achieve business excellence, then that excellence has to be achieved by eliminating all these barriers. These could be ultimately, we know that Vijnanamaya is the layer, knowledge is the layer which has to transcend in order to realize the higher goals of the organization. So when the knowledge dawns, at that time, organization will be able to realize its larger goals. Knowledge of what? Knowledge about their own self, knowledge about people around them, knowledge about the environment of the society. And you would have seen that those leaders who are established in this knowledge, they are able to take organization to the new heights. Isn't it the aspect of yoga? So when we talk about the grossest level of existence of an organization, we have to work on individuals. And these individuals, we have to understand this. When we talk to women in their early 20s, they talk about PCOD related issues being very common, which means at the level of relationship, there are fundamental issues, and we need to tackle it in a very nice way, in an elegant way, so that the challenges are also eliminated. And at the same time, their health and well-being is being taken care of, because these leaders are going to be women leaders of the future. These leaders are going to be, these are the mothers of the future. They are creating new society. So can an organization escape from the fact that no, your wellness is your problem? I am just concerned about you coming to work, doing job, giving me results and going away. We have seen many stories about onboarding of individuals, learning and development of the individuals, taking them to the next level of growth in the organization till the time they retire. But the stories of well-being of individuals in an organization will start surfacing very soon. That's our understanding. And the stories of well-being in an organization will result in business excellence. So when we talk about a yoga studio, people will come to them in order to get well. Okay, my flexibility has to increase, strength has to increase, stamina has to increase. My health related disorders have to go away, psychosomatic disorders have to be taken care of. But when we bring the same perspective to an organization's ecosystem, the same techniques, the same principles, the same fundamentals have to be tuned towards business excellence. Coming to the same point which I mentioned earlier, is the sales leader now able to penetrate the market which he was not able to? Is the CEO who has been newly appointed to the role able to eliminate conflict between his direct reports? Is the hiring manager able to achieve the targets by creating some new ways of looking at it and getting the kind of candidates they are required for the organization? The journey from not being able to meet business expectations to being able to meet business expectations and achieve business excellence is the journey of yoga in the corporate world. If it is sounding too theoretical so far, please interrupt me. If it is not making sense, please interrupt me. You can raise your hand. Okay. Are you able to follow me so far? Yes. Okay. So now keep your hand like this. Raise your hand like this. Okay. Raise your another hand like this. For those who have mobile in their hands, they may find it difficult. Okay. So it is okay. All right. Now relax your shoulders. Okay. Relax your shoulders. Relax your shoulders. Relax your neck. If you are sitting on a chair, take lumbar support. If you are standing, you can stand at ease. And the good thing about this crowd is everybody is having a smile on his face or her face. Okay. So for those who are having smile on their face, just add 10% more to it. Okay. Now we will clap without clapping our hands like this. Okay. Continue. Now, while we are doing this, loosen up your body. Take attention towards your breath. Loosen up. Okay, now you can do a little more. You can loosen up your hands a little more. Take attention towards your breath. Relax your forehead. Relax your eyebrows. Keep your eyes open. Relax your cheeks. Relax your chin. Relax your neck. Relax your shoulders. Relax your arms. Slow down the pace gradually. Come back to the position where you started. And slowly and gently, you can put your hands down. Okay. When we engage people in the corporate world, at that time, the meetings need to transform in this manner, isn't it? Wherever meetings are happening in online mode. So in one of the meetings, we started it in this manner. And then we told, okay, so now let's start. The topic of our meeting is something. And for that topic, let us pay our complete attention to this. How can you expect people to pay attention? They are so distracted. So we told them, now you follow me, okay? Just sit with your back straight, neck straight, shoulders relaxed. Okay, now close your eyes. Keep palms on your lap, palms facing the ceiling. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Another breath in. And as you breathe out, relax your entire body. Take attention to the tip of your nose. Experience the cool air that you are breathing in. And the warm air that we breathe out. As we focus on our breath, the breath has become longer and deeper. Become aware of your body and surroundings. Bring a smile on your face. And with a few blinks, you may slowly and gently open your eyes. How is everyone feeling now? Is the mind empty or full right now? It is full or empty right now. Okay. So among all the people, a very small intervention like this is enabling individuals to understand that before they learn something new, they need to empty the cup before they receive something new. Now, when we started having our meetings in this manner, majority of the people reported that there are no thoughts. They are feeling lighter. This is the foundation for innovation. Because when you expect an organization to innovate, the idea is they should be able to empty their mind first. before emptying the mind, how will new ideas surface? So once the new ideas start surfacing, the innovation aspect will come through. So a CTO of the organization who is focusing on innovation, who is focusing on research, who is focusing on getting patents for the organization, those groups have to come together and meditate daily. Unless and until they meditate daily, they will not be able to go beyond the expectations of what the innovation organization is expected to do, isn't it? In the same way, a small intervention like this of relaxing our shoulders, when we speak with our senior leaders across industries, we understand that for the entire day in the remote working scenario, they are glued onto their chairs and so engrossed in a particular thought, so engrossed in a particular activity that they contract their body. They forget about what body is expecting, what the mind is expecting. They don't drink water for several hours. They don't have their food in time. For the purpose of what? They forget about their time frame of why they joined a particular organization, where they are today. And as a result, we have to bring them into awareness. And the moment awareness dawns, it impacts the leader and it impacts the subordinates. So when we talk to senior leaders who have been there with the organization for several decades, it is like the person who has come to an Ayurvedic doctor mentioning that I have acidity. The person will have so many challenges in running a business. But when the knowledge dawns, the person introduces changes in lifestyle, the person introduces aspects of yoga into work life on day-to-day basis. As a result, the subordinates also follow the leader. So the way in which we know that Vijnanamaya Kosha is influencing the Manomaya Kosha, the Manomaya Kosha is influencing the Pranamaya Kosha. In the same way, once the knowledge dawns in an organization, then the mind of the organization, represented by the leader of the organization, is able to impact the prana of the organization, the life force of the organization, and then at the grassroots level, the change can be introduced. So when we focus on an individual in order to work on his psychosomatic disorders, in the same way, we have to start with leaders of the organization in order to create an impact in the corporate world. You would notice that the leaders may not know how to take this forward. That's the reason it is important that we have to come up with different programs in order to engage different age groups within the organization. If you see today, the wellness related programs which exist in an organization are not even subscribed up to 20%. Why is it so? First important thing is the outreach. The message does not percolate to everyone in the organization. And then second one is the engagement of whether people are motivated enough to bring this as a part of their life. When a yoga certified person comes to an organization, he thinks that everyone in the organization should get yoga certified. Everyone in the organization should start doing Shuddhi Kriyas. Everyone in the organization should work on something. So that assumption is going to become a big problem in achieving the purpose. Somebody would say that music is my life. How can we introduce yoga for that individual? Somebody would say that I want to dedicate my life towards the service of the community. How do we introduce yoga for that individual? So transcending beyond the definition of asana, that it is just doing some postures, that has to happen in the organization. And you may call it yoga, you may not call it yoga, but the essence of yoga has to be taken care of by making it contextual to the groups and individuals in the organization. You would see that there are many band clubs or music clubs within an organization. How will you take those bands and music clubs in the journey of yoga? Will we start our interventions from the knowledge, or we will start our interventions from the journey of improving their fine motor skills in order to make them excel in their journey? Or there are certain groups within the organization who are interested in only dance, and they see that by engaging in dance they are able to unwind. So if those people expect to get unwind by dance, you cannot go and tell them that now come and do Surya Namaskar and we will help you. So the message has to be very contextual to the groups. Then age group is another factor. Those who are in their 20s, we have to operate, we have to work with them like we are in 20s. We cannot go with a very serious face and theory of yoga to them and tell them all the techniques. No, that is not going to work. We have to speak in their language. And their goals are very specific. Many young leaders whom I talk to these days, they say that I'm concerned about my growth. I tell them, define your growth, which means salary. So definition of growth for a young leader in an organization is salary, and definition of growth for a leader who is a CEO is transcending the boundary of the organization to do good for the society. That is the journey which we are talking about. There are situations where there are challenges in introducing some yoga related thoughts within the organization. Once, let's say somebody is very fond of Bhagavad Gita, and you introduce Bhagavad Gita in a global organization. Imagine the blunder that you are creating by doing that. The values and principles are important, but Bhagavad Gita, learning Bhagavad Gita is the subject matter of an individual's practice, which that individual may pursue. But how to bring the essence of that, which is contextual to the organization, is the job of a yogi to figure out which are those texts which would suffice the messages that you want to take to the organization which are given in Bhagavad Gita. Because if we go to other cultures, they would say that we have our own texts. So we realize that when we bring yoga for organizations, it has to follow certain texts which are recognized texts in yoga, and they do not introduce controversy in the organization. So Hatha Yoga Pradipika is the text, Patanjali Yoga Sutra is the text, which becomes a starting point and as a reference can be introduced to the organizations in a way which is very contextual to them. Yama Niyama Asana for an individual is different. Yama Niyama Asana for an organization is different. We are talking about those in terms of ethics, rules, and the day-to-day activities which have to be performed with excellence. That is Yama Niyama Asana. And Vikas ji has written about this nicely in his recent book. And up to asana is all right. How do we contextualize pranayama? How do we contextualize pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi? So those things are to be understood and have to be worked upon. And for this, the fraternity, like people among us, have to come together. We have to work on identifying certain research topics. We have to work on identifying certain topics which give scriptural references as well, and at the same time associate them with the way in which modern organizations work. With that, I will take a pause for questions. Over to Vikas ji and team.
I request all participants, if you have any questions or if you want to share your thoughts, please raise your hands. If you have any question, if you want to share something. Yes, Bankim ji, Privi ji, Lionel ji.
Hello.
Yes, Swapna ji, you
Namaste.
can switch on your camera if you can. And you can...
Actually, I'm in some other work. I'm unable to switch on. Namaste ji and Namaste sir. Sir, I would like to know, just before you were describing about how to conceptualize this pranayama in the modern workforce. So could you give some ideas how we could amalgamate this pranayama concept with scriptural references to the employees in modern way?
Very good question, Swapna ji. And I would need some pointers so that we can contemplate on this.
Okay.
We know that how prana is looked at, the energy is looked at in the yogic context. The same thing exists for an individual, the same thing exists for an organization as well. How do we increase the level of prana is what we aspire for as an individual. So it is food, it is sleep, it is calm and meditative state of mind through which we increase our prana. What is the food for an organization? The
Productivity,
input raw
revenue.
material is the food for the organization, right? So in the same way, what is the sleep for an organization? There are certain things which an organization should not be doing willingly. There are certain things where organization has to decide that yes, this is where I will rest, I will limit my boundaries to. Is this a way of looking at the sleep for the organization? How can an organization be calm? An organization which is ingrained in its values is going to be calm. This will increase the prana of the organization. Okay. Now, whatever I am speaking is something which has to be deliberated further. These may be a few ideas, and many among you are experts over here who can talk more about it. So the way in which we look at individual and the prana aspect of an individual, then we go to the pranayama aspect. Okay. How is pranayama defined for an individual? In the same way, how can we contextualize pranayama for an organization? At a gross level, you can ask everyone in the organization to do pranayam, nadi shodhan pranayam for 9 minutes or 9 rounds of nadi shodhan pranayam every day. That is how meetings can start. At a grossest level, this could be a source for transformation, and then it has to be deliberated upon. Or who asked this question?
Such a wonderful question.
Swapna
Yes,
ji.
Priviji.
Hello, Aniket sir. First of all, a wonderful topic. Like you mentioned, when a patient or a person goes to a Ayurved doctor, they try to find the root cause of whatever disease or problems they have. I would just like to understand from the corporate point of view, have you seen any triggers or any situations where you thought that we need to introduce yoga to the corporate culture, or like you were comparing the corporates with the how the baby grows, or the how the baby uh, is already a yogi, and he or she is just growing, so I just wanted to understand, were there any instances, or were there any triggers where you realized, or you as a corporate realized that yoga should be introduced to, or the yoga practices should be introduced in a corporation, corporate like Tata?
Very good question, Priviji. The way in which I was in the United Nations during the second International Day of Yoga, and when I heard them talk about this, they mentioned that we have been implementing yoga in United Nations since last 70 years. It is not new for us. It is just that IDWA has been recognized last year. In the same way, organizations have been having yoga clubs since long, but they are happening in pockets. Second is, why do we need to work at scale in the organization? If we have to introduce certain practices in the organization, they have to be done in the way in which an organization runs. That was our core philosophy of introducing something in an organization's context. We also studied some data and statistics around the working age group population, which I talked about. And we realized that the working age group population is the one who has been recently introduced to the ailments. By the age of 40, if this continues, then the organization is going to be at a terrible state. Because we talk about dukkha daurmanasya angame jetva, right? So there are stages which happen. So if people are sad, then there has to be something, right? Vyadhistyana samshaya pramada we talk about, the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So if there is an ailment, then at that time, there is going to be dukkha. There is going to be a source of misery. So when we studied various statistics from World Health Organization as well as through other sources, we realized that there are close to 50 odd psychosomatic disorders which are introduced today, which are recognized today, for which there is no cure. And if our workforce is a representation of the population, then they are bound to have this. And if this is not addressed at the right time, then imagine the kind of organization we are going to create. We realized this when we saw these statistics and we aligned our initiatives with respect to the International Day of Yoga announcement. That we have to, the way in which United Nations has organized, has recognized this for the entire world, as an organization, as a representative of an organization, we need to percolate it to organizations as well. So in short, that was how the trigger was.
Aniket ji, yeah, good insights. My question may be a little different, okay? And what I see, recently, especially in US, this word, mindful is popping up. I mean, now it has become like a volcano here, okay? I mean, when I say at the organization level, I mean, even I would say in my own organization, this in the last 1 year, the word mindful has just propped up. And, you have weekly sessions and, monthly sessions and you have counseling and lots of stuff. And I have not dealt with it, but the question is, somewhere I see that the essence of the element of, the yoga, the real values of yoga, probably they may get lost, or maybe twisted. I don't know whether you have, had some similar experience, between, I mean, the whole point is, the getting the real values, and as you mentioned it right, without taking Bhagavad Gita into organization, how can you take the values of great values of those, which can you take to the organization? But this mindful, what is your experience, with this word mindful and, integrating elements?
Well, when mindful is being talked about, it is not limited to only sessions which are taken in the organizations or activities which happen. If you just search for mindfulness, there are so many different research papers also which are there in mindfulness, and they are not recent. They have been there since several years. I see that the root cause for this has to be understood first. And the root cause for this is understanding the language. When we see mana, and then we know that mana prashamanopaya yoga ityabhidiyate, then mana understood in a proper way will result into creating something out of it. Now, what is the equivalent of mana in English? There is no equivalent word of mana in English. There is one book. Rajiv Malhotra ji has written a book named Sanskrit Non-Translatables. It is very important to understand those kind of terminologies. And then if the word is not understood properly, things will twist around it. So the root cause behind mindful, the way in which mindful is seen today is because of lack of understanding of what mind is about, understanding what manas is, and not being able to translate into a word which that language can understand. And then once this, because of this particular root cause, the word is established, then there is mindfulness as a technique which is introduced. Then in mindfulness, people will apply their own way of understanding it, then create some other flavors of it. In this, the essence of yoga is lost. The essence of technique is lost. Follow the Chaturanga Yoga, follow the Ashtanga Yoga technique, follow Yoga Vasishta, what is mentioned in that. use any one particular technique as a foundation and one particular text as a foundation, and then build things around it. For that, the knowledge part of it has to be understood. Right now, in my opinion, the way in which mindful word is being used or misused or people are trying to use it in a different way. It is nice that people are talking about it. People are doing something good about it. Eventually, they will lead to knowledge, and that will culminate into well-being in a proper way. So these initial disturbances or initial waves are important to establish something. We may feel that it is wrong, but in a journey of 400, 500 years, we would realize that it is a only small element which will vanish after some time. It will follow a sine wave principle eventually. So my recommendation is, for scenarios when we see like this, it is important that we introduce these corporate leaders to getting certified in yoga, not for getting certification for the sake of getting certified, so that they will understand the essence of yoga in a better way, in a holistic manner. And that's one of the initiatives which we have taken as an organization. And that will lead, maybe in a decade, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, it will lead to understanding the core principles in a proper way and then implementing it.
This is really deep and noble thought. So I wish every organization, whether it's IT or any other company in India, they will think like this and they will work on the same thought. Thank you so much, Aniket. Such a wonderful session you have given. We understood one thing. I am trying to understand, to look at yoga in a larger scale. So it's agar har ek, if every human being in India or in world started doing yoga practices and started to follow it wholeheartedly a bit also, it will be beneficial for us all to make our world a better place. Thank you so much for a wonderful session. I hope our questions, anyone wants to ask anything, or should we proceed further?
Yeah, even we have a lot of international students, like we have some people from France, we have Mercedes G from South America. So they're in different cultures, in different cultural settings, and introducing such kind of aspects as into the young population or into the corporate world. There would be different challenges. So if there are any kind of challenges that you experience, maybe Aniket ji is the right person where you can get some tips from. So you can please come ahead and ask these questions. And another important thing is, Aniket ji, I really feel like the way in earlier times, a lot of population was debarred from the knowledge because the knowledge was maybe into Sanskrit, and Sanskrit was not a common, maybe sometimes a local dialect being spoken. So we had great saints who transformed this language, and we had Gita coming in the form of Jnaneshwari in the local language. So I think it is our responsibility, all of us, that as you were being talking about, we have to, rather than introducing yogic practices into an organization, we have to understand the language of and the needs of the organization, and we have to modify the practices of yoga, and so that it helps to convey the philosophy of yoga, fulfilling the needs of an organization. And for this, I feel this was one of the many small steps, but it would definitely lead to creating a yogic think tank. And we all from different parts of the world and different organizations can come up with different ideas where we can collaborate and exchange and take these things ahead. So any questions are welcome.
Thank you, Vikas sir. Now I will request you. Yes, Aniket ji, please.
To add to what Vikas ji mentioned, we have introduced something for our organization is one perspective. But in order to take it to the entire fraternity of all the organizations across the globe, it can only happen when all of us like-minded people come together. So if even a moment of today's session has appealed you in some or the other way, has triggered some thought in you that yes, there is something which needs to be done here, then that is a calling for a larger collaboration which each one of us have to come forward to. Over to you, Prajakta ji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Aniket ji. I now request Dr. Vikas Chothe to perform virtual felicitation.
Everybody
I
please
request
unmute.
all participants to unmute yourself. Now, before ending our session, I will just make a small announcement. First of all, thank you, Vikas sir. Thank you, Aniket sir. And now, announcement of our next week sessions. Saturday, Prajakta Bharadwaj, that is me. So my topic will be common differences between yoga, Zumba and Pilates. I request you all to be in your yoga dress and to be with your mat for our Saturday session. And our Sunday session will be Mr. Julian Baringoa. His topic will be integrating spirituality and yoga and therapy. So it's my request you to all don't miss these sessions. And now we will end our session with Shanti Mantra. So roll your shoulders behind, sit tall and strong. Join your palms at the center of your chest and keep your eyes closed. Take one deep inhale and exhale. Take one deep inhale. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karvavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu. Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Deep inhalation, slow exhalation. Rub your palms on each other, make them warm enough, and keep them on your eyes. Give all warmth to your eyes first. Gently open your eyes in your palms. See the light through the darkness. Slowly and steadily spread your fingers and join your palms at the center of your chest. Thank you so much.